All right, let's get to our metal six pack.
All right, cool.
Yeah.
In honor of a Boston band that'll be joining us shortly on this show, we decided to do our top 6 Boston bands. So there you go. Who do we start with here, Joe?
So it'll be we're doing everybody's number 6. They're all in the right order this time, and it'll go Mr. Florentine, Mr. Jamieson, and Mr. Trunk.
Okay.
If you saw last week's show, you know why we're chuckling.
Okay, and also if you guys want to contribute, in the chat or super chat or whatever, put your top 6 Boston bands while we're going through ours, and then we'll comment later when we're done with ours. All right, number 6. I'm not a huge fan of this band, but the Dropkick Murphys out of Boston. I saw them a couple times live, and I hooked up with a girl, so I think that's why my 6th pick was some girl got elbowed in a mosh pit, and I helped her out. I brought her to the bar and got her some ice, and I wound up making out with her at the end of the night. So a girl way out of my league when I was like a 2.5 with a bad mustache. So that's why they're my number 6. No other reason.
Was she a 6?
No, she was like a 9.5.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, way out of my league.
We don't have so we got the right band, but we don't have the number this week. So
there's number 6 is Dropkick Murphys for me.
Yeah, but there's no number on the graph.
We don't need a number. We're not children. This isn't kindergarten kids. Who gives a fuck?
I need it.
All right, then.
People watching at home go, wait, there's no number 6. What's going on? It's just weird.
Who goes next?
I need it. I guess that's me. I don't know what number. I guess.
No, well, I'm sitting. Mine. It's my number 6. Is it yours too, Don?
I suppose so.
Joe, whose is this?
Well,
no, it's Don. It goes Jim, Don, Eddie. So this is Don's pick.
There's my picture, but it would help if it had the number on it. For children like me.
Doesn't matter about the number.
And it 0 matters nothing.
It'll have the number next week, I promise.
Yeah, because I know people are tuning out right now because there's no number on there. Like, you know what? I can't take this. I need a number 6 on there.
Well, so Ed's already given away his number 6, and it's listen. This band obviously is a global band, big festival headliners, and they are, of course, Godsmack. My number 6 for top 6 Boston bands. Ed,
all right. So you can just leave that. Well, at least we got a new photo with the band right there. That's Godsmack, also my number 6. Saw him play live recently in Vegas, like less than a year ago. Still sounding good. New album out now. Consistently has made good records, great shows. And Sully recently saying Godsmack not making any more new music after this latest record, but will not be retiring. Just not going to be adding to their catalog. But anyway, Godsmack for me is at number 6. Jim, you're number 5.
Number 5 is the band The Cars. Their first album, Masterpiece. Not one bad track on it, so similar to the first Boston record. Second one was great. Third one was pretty good, but you got to throw The Cars in there. Legendary band. They're in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and yeah, they're my number 5.
Don, you're 5.
My number 5 will be, those guys look familiar. A couple of the guys in the middle will be joining us shortly. Extreme, I mean, what can you say? Just a, super influential band. Been a while since they made new music, but put out a great new album, and excited to talk to those guys. So at whatever number that is, it's Extreme.
It's number 5. So my number 5, New England or Boston-based bands, is a band I can't even believe you found a photo of, but you did. So good job there, Joe. That's a band called New England. Oh. And if you're going to talk about a Boston band, the band is actually called New England. And many people may not know them because they weren't super successful, but I was a huge fan. I saw them open for Kiss back in 1979. They made 3 records. The first one was produced by Paul Stanley. They still play like once or twice a year, I think, in the New England area. They had a great song early on called Don't Ever Want to Lose You, but 3 albums and, kind of hard rock, but also some like ELO keyboardy influence. New England, my number 5 Boston band. Hey,
Eddie, is that the guys, some of those guys in the band went on to form Alcatraz with Grandpa on it? Okay,
yes.
Yeah.
Hirsch Gardner, the drummer, and I think the bass player, Jimmy Shea, I think, they became Alcatraz, yes.
Okay, yep.
But the main guy is the guy on the right. His name's John Fannin, guitar player, singer, and he wrote all the songs.
All right, my number 4 is the band Extreme. That's coming up on the show later. I mean, solid career, phenomenal. I mean, the band is amazing. We just saw them on the Monster Rock cruise. So yeah, they're my number 4. What else could be said? They're coming on in about 15 minutes.
Hirsch Gardner didn't go to Alcatraz. It was actually the bass player and the keyboard player.
Right, Jimmy Shea and somebody else. Yeah,
Waldo, Jimmy
Waldo.
Yeah. Okay. So anyway, it's my number 4 now, right?
No, Don goes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, if the number was up there, it would help. Number 4 for me is the Cars. The Cars are such a strange sort of thing because they really have resonated with people in the hard rock and metal world for whatever reason. They do, it's just, the time, our age and everything, but they really came in strong on the scene with that first album, which I agree, Jim, not a bad song on there. And of course, Moving in Stereo, when I hear that song, I got to think of the scene, in Fast Times at Ridgemont High, where Judge Reinhold is whacking his bag to Penelope Cruz or whatever.
Phoebe Cates.
Yeah. Phoebe coming out of the pool. I picture that every time I hear that song.
It was phenomenal.
Yeah, you cannot not think of that scene every time you hear that song. It's insane. Okay, so it's my number 4 now.
Yeah.
Don and I are very much in lockstep on this one because I also have the Cars at number 4, and a band that I agree. The first album just turned 45 years old. It's essentially a greatest hits record. Great stuff. I mean, obviously a band that had a lot of new wave influence, but very guitar based. As a matter of fact, Nuno today on my radio show, when I talked to him, brought up Elliot Easton, the Cars guitar player, as being a super underrated guitar player, one of his favorites. And people forget about that guitar impact of the Cars because they were more new wavy, but just amazing songs that still hold up today. So I got them as my number 4 as well. So Jim, go ahead with your 3.
My number 3 is Godsmack. Love this band. Loved them since day one. The debut record is great. Phenomenal. The second one is heavier than the first one. They were opening for Pantera at the time after their first album. They said we had no choice but to be heavy, just hanging around those guys, always putting solid music out. Great live. Shannon's a monster on drums. Great band. And Godsmack is my number 3.
All right. My number 3 is Jim's number 6. Although I didn't make out with anybody drunkenly when I saw them, I dig this band a lot. Dropkick Murphys. Of course, we all, everybody knows the Sam Adams theme is Dropkick Murphys. And if you've never seen them live, they're still out doing it. And it's great. It's just great, heavy, drunken, fighting Irish music.
With a last name like Jamieson, you have to put that in there, don't you, Don?
Got to be in there.
All right, my number 3 is talking about bands from Boston. How can you not do Boston? I mean, the band Boston. Obviously, one of the greatest, biggest selling debuts of all time. Speaking of debuts that are basically greatest hits albums, the first Boston album is basically a greatest hits record. The second album, Don't Look Back, also incredible, and some great stuff since then as well. Obviously, Brad Delp, Tom Schultz, the mastermind, the late Brad Delp, amazing singing. Boston, the band at number 3, favorite Boston bands for me.
Number 2 is the same band, Boston, that we're talking about. I love these guys. There's a great YouTube video of them at Giant Stadium in like 77. And it's amazing how to just nail it. Brad Delp is just nailing those songs, singing live and stuff like that. I've watched it a bunch of times. I love this band, so they're my number 2.
All right, well, let's just make it all 3 across the board here because my number 2 is Boston. We talked about them on the first episode of That Rocks in reference to Rock and Roll Hall of Fame and whether they should be in or not. And I think it's unanimous. It's ridiculous that they are not in, but they should be, and hopefully will be one day. And that's my number 2.
Yeah, it's absurd they're not in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame for the debut album alone. It's absurd. All right, so we all had Boston in that same zone, but my number 2, Boston was my number 3. My number 2 is the band that is going to be joining us soon, Extreme. I've loved Extreme since day one. Anybody that loves high energy rock with incredible vocals, groove, funk. They're always changing stuff. They've got epics. They've got acoustic stuff. Obviously, ripping guitar stuff. The easy out here, people will say, is, oh, they're just kind of like a Van Halen descendants. Well, yeah, they are. But what they've done, if you really know their catalog, which is now 6 records, there's a lot of diversity in there. Even on this new album, you may know the songs that have been released as singles. If you dig into that album, there's all sorts of stuff going on this record. Always love these guys. Remarkable what they do with their vocals, which they actually sing live. What a concept. And great high energy shows. And Extreme is my number 2.
All right, my number 1, I think it's everybody's number 1 because it hasn't been on the board yet. I mean, if we had the numbers up, it'd probably help.
Yeah. Thank you, Jim.
Aerosmith. I remember just listening to the debut album on cassette with my buddy Tony, constantly getting high as a kid, listening to that, and just been a fan ever since. Seen him through the drug days at the Fountain Casino in Matawan, New Jersey, with Steven and the band sloppy all over the stage. So, and I'm going to go see him Labor Day weekend, the first night of the tour, when they come around with the Black Crowes opening. So Aerosmith obviously is my number 1.
Don, it's your one?
Yep. So yeah, like Jim said, we'll probably make this unanimous. So Aerosmith. When I was first getting into music, Kiss was my gateway band, of course, and I didn't want to know from anything else. Don't play me. I love Kiss, and that's it. My walls are covered in Kiss. That's all I want to listen to. And then finally, my cousin played me Aerosmith, and I said, "Oh boy, okay." Now we got Aerosmith into the mix, and from there, all doors opened. So, another one of my gateway bands, Aerosmith, since I'm 10, 11 years old. Love this band. Still great to this day. Saw the residency in Vegas within the last year. And what can you say, man? Steven and Joe and company, man, still at the top of their game after all these years.
Yeah, I got the same exact one. Of course, it's look, everybody, I think all the other bands on this list would have Aerosmith at number 1 if they were doing a similar list. So obviously the no-brainer here. And the same exact story Don just had about only being into Kiss and then not and wanting to ignore everything else, which is your mentality when you're like 12. Anything for me, any other band was a threat to Kiss, so I couldn't possibly like Kiss, anything else but Kiss. But then I cracked and I got the live bootleg album. Still to this day, one of the greatest live albums ever. We talked about that when we did live albums last week with Frank Hannon. Just an insanely, by the way, my friend Brian Tishy just sent me an alternate live bootleg that was made on YouTube of songs that didn't make it onto that record, which was so cool. But Aerosmith, the Kings, I mean, are in my top 2 or 3 bands of all time, not just Boston bands. So Aerosmith, number 1 across the board.